Video opens with a vast, empty expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Imagine this, you're floating, alone, in the middle of the largest ocean on Earth. The year is 1945. Your ship, a proud vessel of the US Navy, is now a twisted wreck at the bottom of the sea, a casualty of the brutal war in the Pacific. For one young sailor, this nightmare was his reality. This is the incredible story of a man who refused to die, who swam for 5 days against impossible odds. Our story begins in the chaos of battle. Explosions rock the ship, and the terrifying screech of metal fills the air. In moments, the once mighty warship is gone, leaving hundreds of men scattered in the unforgiving waters. Among them is a young man, barely out of his teens, clutching a piece of floating debris. As the sun rises on the first day, the true horror of his situation sets in. The sea stretches to an endless horizon in every direction. He is a tiny speck in an immense, indifferent blue. The first enemy wasn't the one who sank his ship. It was thirst. The salty water that surrounded him offered no relief, only a cruel mockery of his desperation. His throat felt like sandpaper. His lips cracked under the relentless sun. The heat was a physical weight, baking him hour after hour, with no shade, no escape. At night, the temperature would plummet, leaving him shivering uncontrollably in the dark, the cold seeping into his very bones. Then came the other inhabitants of the deep. Fins would slice through the water nearby. Sharks, drawn by the disaster, circled patiently. For this young sailor, every splash, every shadow beneath him, was a jolt of pure terror. He had to stay constantly alert, kicking and making noise to scare them away, a draining, nerve-shredding battle that lasted for days and nights. He wasn't just fighting for his life against the elements. He was fighting against the apex predators of the ocean. As the days blurred together, a new enemy emerged, his own mind. Hallucinations began to play tricks on him. He'd see phantom ships on the horizon, only for them to dissolve into the heat haze. He'd hear the voices of his crewmates calling to him from just out of sight. Hope would surge, only to be crushed again and again. Loneliness became a suffocating presence. It would have been so easy to give up, to let the exhaustion take over, to just slip beneath the waves and end the suffering. But something inside him wouldn't let him quit. Maybe it was the thought of his family back home, the memories of a life he so desperately wanted to return to. He held on to a sliver of hope, a stubborn refusal to become another casualty of the war. He prayed, he talked to himself. He did whatever it took to keep his spirit from breaking. He focused on one thing, and one thing only: survive the next minute, then the next hour, then the next day. On the 5th day, his body was failing. His skin was burned raw, his energy was gone. He was drifting in and out of consciousness, his fight nearly over. Then, he heard it, a faint drone in the distance. At first, he thought it was another hallucination, his mind's final, cruel joke. But the sound grew louder. He forced his eyes open and saw it, the tiny speck in the sky. A plane, an American plane. With the last ounce of strength he possessed, he waved his arms, shouting with a voice that was barely a croak. It was 1,000,000 to 1 shot. How could they possibly see one man in this vastness? The plane flew on, and his heart sank. This was it. It was over. But then, the plane began to bank, turning back. They had seen him. They had actually seen him. The moments that followed were a blur of relief so profound it felt like a dream. He was pulled from the water, his ordeal finally over. He had survived 5 days in the open Pacific, fighting off sharks, dehydration, and despair. He had stared death in the face, and had won. For decades after the war, he rarely spoke of his experience. The memories were too painful, the trauma too deep. It was a chapter of his life he kept locked away. But years later, as an old man, he finally decided to tell his story. He wanted people to know what he and so many others had endured. He didn't see himself as a hero. He saw himself as a survivor who got lucky. But his story is more than just luck. It's a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and the will to live can conquer the impossible. His tale is one of countless stories of courage and survival from that generation. It teaches us about the strength we can find within ourselves when faced with unimaginable challenges. Thank you so much for watching and sharing in this incredible journey. If you found this story as inspiring as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of extraordinary human endurance. We'll see you in the next video.